have two different photos here. Both are of one person alone. Which person feels lonelier? Number 1 or number 2? 1 or 2?
I say 1.
All right, good guess. I would say number 2 feels lonelier. Number 1 feels more like empowering and adventurous. The point is, composition and pose matter in your storytelling. So we're going to focus on this second photo. This is of problematic_Seinfeld. You can find her on Instagram. Big thanks for letting us use the picture. So as far as this photo is laid out, she's down here in the bottom corner. You know, she's even partially cropped out. I'm going to make sure she stays in that corner.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Because this photo is already composed in a way that makes her look dejected and shoved aside. And these big pushy smiley balloons are up here kind of doing their best to upstage her, which is kind of sad and weird. They're balloons and she's a human being. So I want to make sure that that power dynamic shows up in the drawing. There's also a starkness to this photo that I love. The fact that there's one little post-it note of a decoration up there on the wall, and this TV stand is just black. Now, as an illustrator, as a designer, we're always tempted to add more detail, more interest. We want to maybe start adding some Hummel figures. We have to avoid that temptation and keep this sort of stark and depressing looking in order to tell the story. Now, as I get into the detail of her pose and her expression, you know, at first glance, you could just say, yeah, I get it. It's a girl sitting at a couch. I get it. And you just start geeking out on drawing. Maybe never look at the photo again. But there's some subtleness going on in this photo that I want to make sure I get into the drawing. Specifically, these hands. Her hands are jammed in between her knees. It's such a visual cue of discomfort and hiding. So I want to make sure that that shows up in the drawing. It also means that that's going to affect the way her dress is laying on her. I want to make sure that that shows up. It's also kind of pointing little attention lines to her hands. That's kind of cool. So her body language is a huge clue as to what's going on with this scene. Are you good at reading body language? It's important as an illustrator to be able to do that. I would say that if you walk into a room and you plop down on the couch and you flip on the TV and you're just completely oblivious to the fact that you've plopped down between your roommates who are in the middle of a fight, you're probably not good at reading a room, good at reading the nonverbal cues. In order to be good at drawing, you need to be good at noticing. The other half of this equation of noticing things is to notice the things in a photo, in your reference, that are not going to help tell your story, and then to edit those things out. Behind the couch, there's this dark shape. I think it's a guitar case, but it's not even 100% clear. And if I just drew what I saw, it would be even less clear. It'd be kind of confusing. What is that thing back there? Got to take it out. I would say that if this was like a comic book or a storyboard, and I knew that in the next moment, maybe she would try to pick up a guitar and try to liven up the party, start playing. Well, then I would kind of telegraph that idea by making it clearer that that's a guitar back there. I'd have it probably just a guitar on a rack with the neck and head showing. But since this is just a standalone image, I think it's just going to be a distraction to have anything back there, so I'm just going to take it out. Don't let the photos be the boss of you. For more on this, check out my previous video, How to Not Rely on Photos and Instead Draw with Magic. All right, more editing choices. Let's take a look at another photo from this same moment in time. Problematic Seinfeld had two pictures, one where she's looking sort of off into space and one where she's making eye contact with the camera. Which one looks lonelier? Which one looks like an unhappy birthday? This one's a little bit more of a subtle choice, but I think gazing out into space, looking down, there's less power there. To look into somebody's eyes is a power move, and it's a connection. It's a human connection. So by looking into the camera, looking at us, we're forming a connection now. Now there's two of us at this unhappy birthday. Where if she's looking off into space and kind of, not looking at us, it's even lonelier. So I'm going to go with that. About 15 years ago, I worked at this gallery in Sacramento, and, well, there was one artist that would show there a lot. This artist would go around and do like plein air paintings of the businesses in town, like the restaurants and the stores. And then I think the hope was that a lot of times the store owner would come out and be like, "What are you doing down here?" And they'd get interested and they'd just buy the painting up front. Or they'd end up in this gallery. So there was this one painting that they had done of the front of Tower Records. And the photo that they had used to paint this Tower Records had a homeless person hanging out by the garbage can with their shopping cart. And they left it in the painting. I would say that if you are interested in calling attention to the problem of homelessness, paint some homeless people, make that the point of your painting. If you're just trying to sell paintings to people who love Tower Records, I would leave out the guy with the shopping cart full of garbage.
But it was in the photo.
All right, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. There's one more bit of editing that I want to do on this drawing versus what's going on in the photo. I'll probably have to decide later when I'm inking, but I'm not really sure about the logo on her shirt. I understand that it's My Chemical Romance and that's the logo, but it's really hard to read, and I'm probably going to go with something a little more readable. Muse. So since this video is more about editing and composition, I'm going to leave it at this pencil rough stage. If you are interested in where this image is going and want to see more, let me know. Thanks for watching, and unhappy birthday to you.